Welcome everybody. I'm going to be doing a kind of a series. I have a lot of videos on creating nav bars, but I've got a nav bar project for my students. And so one of the things I want to do is have a video to help them out and really talk about some of the web design techniques of dealing with files and folders and managing those. And so this is a great project that does it. The idea here is that the students are going to use an old set of tutorials on how to create nav bars using unordered lists of links. And it comes from the CSS Max Design site. They've got a thing called the list tutorial, creating simple tutorials on CSS. And so here's the page. And so they have one for background images for bullets. We're going to ignore that for now. We're going to talk about doing a rollover list, a nested list, a horizontal list, and then I'm going to ask that my students do yet another list, but they get to choose which one they want to do again. And the idea here is that it uses all the same HTML, but with different CSS. And we want to talk about navigation. How do you create consistent nav bars? What are best practices? And the idea behind this is going to be some of the best practices that I've picked up, I've observed from professionals who do web design, but also from this wonderful book on usability called Don't Make Me Think. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but let me just show you a link. Okay, I just Googled it right here. Steve Krug or Krug, Don't Make Me Think. I'll just click the preview here. The idea here of common approach to web usability. And it's all about you as the web designer do need to think, but the user shouldn't have to think hard. So we should have a very consistent, easy-to-use navigation bar. So that's some of the things I want to basically cover, but primarily I want to cover how do you connect multiple web pages in a single project. And for that, I'm going to go to my student folder, and I'm going to create a new folder for this navbar project. And I'm just going to call it CSS Navbars. I could call it CSS Navbar Samples. And so I create a folder. And then inside of that folder is where I'm going to put all my files. I want it self-contained. So all my files are going to go inside of here. I may or may not use images. So good file structure for a website is to have a folder for images, and we just call it images. I make all of my files in folders in web design lowercase. And so I try to get good, meaningful names. I know I'm going to create, for sure, a horizontal nav bar, a vertical, and a nested. But then I got to figure out what I'm going to do for the third. I think for the fourth. I think for the fourth, I'm going to do yet another horizontal nav bar because those are the most common nav bars. Although with mobile devices, a lot of times you have to switch between a horizontal bar on a desktop or like a tablet. But when you get to a phone or you're doing landscape on one of the smaller tablets, you really do need to go to vertical. And there's many times where that's very valid. So really it's up to you. And of course, I'm talking to my students who are going to do this. All right, so let's go ahead and create some files. I'm going to start with Notepad++ to do it. Okay, here we go. I got a blank file. All of these are going to use standard HTML5, sort of a template for it. I have one created, so I'm going to grab the code from there and drop it into here. Well, there's my file. It's right here. In fact, maybe the better way to do this is just to copy it. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it in here. And then I'm going to open this with Notepad++. And it looks like I've done a little bit of work, and so I'm going to get rid of some of that. I'll keep the header 1 there. Go ahead and put a title, CSS Navbars. Notice we have the doc type HTML. Notice the HTML tag. We do a char set UTF-8. You want to put that at the very top early on in the head, and then title should come next. I have a style sheet, which is where we're going to put our styles. I'm going to put them in here because each, normally if I were doing a website, I would actually have an external style sheet. But because each page is going to use all different nav bars, I think it's going to just be easier to maintain if I keep them in the style tag. I only do this for this particular project, so keep that in mind. I'm going to anticipate the fact that I'm going to be doing more than just one nav bar. So as I put my header 1 in here and I create my title, I'm going to put a little colon and a space so that I can indicate which nav bar I'm working on. And so I know the first one's going to be horizontal, but watch what I'm going to do. Rather than code one entirely, I'm going to try to code all the similarities among all of my pages into one as the template, and I will use that template to then generate the rest of my pages. So the idea here is you want to just like take advantage of the fact that, we're going to have to, if I have to type this or retype it over, it's going to be a lot of either copy and paste or a lot of typing. So rather than that, let's figure out all the things we want to do. Now, if we're going to do a nav bar, it used to be you would create a div for your nav bar. And with HTML5, they introduced the nav tag, so we're going to use the nav tag instead. So if you are looking at that CSS Max Design tutorial and you see the div, replace that with the nav, and there is no need, in this case, to give it an ID. Inside of the nav, I'm going to tab over and create our unordered list of links. So notice how it's doing the auto completion. In case you were not aware of that, if you have Notepad++, sorry all you Mac users, it's only for PC. But if you do have Notepad++, I just want to remind you there's a settings, it's under preferences, it's under auto completion, and you want to check that little box that it says HTML, XML, close tag. It really saves you a lot of time. And all right, so we're going to have different links. So what I want to do is figure out what I'm going to do for each of my pages. It's kind of like a chicken versus the egg in a way that this unordered list of links is going to be the pattern for all of my pages. Well, one of the things we want to do is make sure that every page has every link in the correct order. We want to keep it consistent. We want to make sure on any given page we can immediately glance at the nav bar and know, for example, where everything is. So we're going to go ahead and just craft all of our links in here now before we've even created a page. Okay? And we're going to assume that we already know what we're going to name them and what the file name will be and what we want to put in our nav bar. So we're just going to do this now while we're starting anyway. So the first thing we're going to do is, now if you want, I've got a great idea. If you're going to do 4 links, 4 pages, because I asked my students to do 4 pages, why not make the home page be one of those? And we can decide later what the home page nav bar will look like and style it with our CSS. So the home page, by good naming format, should always be index.html. It's very standard. It's what you should do. And we're just going to go ahead and put the home page on there. All right. Now, we have our pattern for our link, so I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to paste again. Now, we're going to put, I'm going to do horizontal. And so since that's going to be a horizontal page, why not call it, I don't know, horizontal? Sound good to you? All right. Sounds good to me. Horizontal, then it'll be vertical. Not vertical, not a vertical, but vertical. And then we'll do our nested last. Not nexted, nested. Okay. So here we go. We got, this is a standard nav bar. We got nav bars that have 4 links. We have nav bars that have more than that. So you really want to push it and you're going to test some stuff out, create a bunch more. All right. But I'm just going to go ahead and keep this simple. If I wanted to have 2 different horizontals or whatever, I could give them name based on what it would look like, or I could have a horizontal 1, horizontal 2. So you want to do something like that. So the structure I'm going to recommend we do is something like this. We have our header. You want to get fancy? Do this. Create a header tag. And stick that header one in your header tag, like so. And then with your CSS styles, you can do more to it. Next, we're going to follow good practice since we're already using the HTML5 structural elements. Let's go ahead and do one more, and we'll call it a section. Or you could call it an article, your choice. And then we're going to add some dummy text here. Okay. And to make it look like it's a website. And then, hey, let's just go to town. While we're at it, let's just go ahead and create a footer. If you're my student in web design right now listening in or watching later because you missed the day or you wanted to review it, the section and footer is just good practice. We're going to be doing web design layouts anyway. And so this is a great way of sort of figuring out how you want to do your layouts and things. So you might as well get used to this idea. And then what you can do is you can put your credits here. So you can put Navbars created by, and you can put your name there. And I might put little link, href equals http:// Put a little link to my site. Do a little copyright symbol. You do that with the ampersand, copy, semicolon, and we'll put the year, period. And I'll put a little one last thing here with, capitalize, with help. I'll put much help from, I'm going to put the little CSS Max design link here. Paste. Like so. And a period. Zoom back out just a little bit so you can see the structure of the body. So this is the general structure, and the real focus for this assignment is just the navbar links. I'm going to go ahead and add some lorem ipsum in here. All right, I found my dummy text. I went to Filorama right here, and you can choose different sources. Mine came from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. We got some quotes there. And if you click on HTML, you can get some HTML code plus the text. So I just used that to create it. Let's see what our page looks like when we go ahead and launch the page. I got to save my changes for the template. I'm going to run, launch in Chrome. Here it is. And at this point, let's move this over here so you can kind of see what's going on. Sorry. There we go. So we have a list of links. None of those links work. So we need to make sure we get those to work. And how we're going to do that is we're going to go over here, and we're going to use this list of links to create all of our pages. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is save the home page as index.html. So I'm going to copy that and choose File, Save As. I'm in the correct folder, as you can see here. And I'm just going to paste over the file name, index.html. Then I'm going to do the same for the horizontal. Now, notice right here it says home here. Oh, I should have added home up here. So I better do that now before I forget. Save my changes. So what we're going to do is now that we've got the home page created, we're going to do the same thing for horizontal, vertical, and nested. But we got to make sure we change the title and the header one, and we'll leave everything else the same. So go ahead and click this. This is kind of the foolproof way to make sure all of your links are going to work. Not only that, but by creating the list of links first, you're guaranteed the consistency. So now we're in the horizontal, so I'm just going to copy from each part here, capitalize, because I feel like that's important after having taught English for 6 years. Was my major too, so, you know. All right, there we go. That's horizontal. Let's do vertical. I copy it. Note right here it says horizontal. So now I'm just going to do File, Save As. You're going to note there's horizontal, there's index, there's template. So I paste over, so now it says vertical.html. Click Save. Now I change everything to say vertical. Plus capitalize that V. Of course, now I could have with CSS gone in and made that all caps. Did you know? There is a trick to do that. Save my changes for vertical. Let's do the same thing for nested, and then we'll test out our links. There's nested. Copy it here. change, capitalize the N in nested. Save my changes. Okay, this should be done now. So I'm going to go back to this page here. I'm going to hit refresh. If you don't hit refresh, you won't get the new. Actually, the refresh wasn't even necessary because I already created the links anyway. I click home, it says home. I click horizontal, it says horizontal. And it should say it up in the tab right there. I click vertical, it says vertical, vertical, nested, says nested, nested. I've got it page to page. Doesn't matter what page I'm on. If I'm on home, I can go to vertical, or I can go to nested, or I can go to horizontal. When I'm on horizontal, I can go to the home. I can go back to the horizontal, to vertical, horizontal to nested. This is how you test them out. You go to vertical. From vertical, check home. Go back to vertical, check horizontal. Go back to vertical, check nested. Do the same for nested. Sounds kind of tedious, doesn't it? I knew it was going to work. You know why I knew it was going to work? Because I already created the list, and then I used it to generate all my pages. And at this point, we're ready to start doing some CSS, but you got go to the CSS Max Design list tutorial and start following through those. I would do each of these first and then figure out what you want to do for the home page. And I do have some other videos, so I'm going to put this all together in a playlist, or I might just re-record it and ditch the old videos. Stay tuned for that. You know what? I've gone over time, but I forgot to mention one really key element, and that is the validator. We better make sure I did not have any errors in my pages, or I'm in trouble. But that's all right. It's only 4 pages, so I need to figure out. I'm just going to test one page. If there's no errors on this page, the way I did this, I'm pretty sure there's not going to be errors on the other. So we're going to go to the validator.w3.org, and I'm going to click by direct input. I'm going to paste it in, click check. Notice no errors or warnings to show. Good. Okay, I wanted to make sure that worked. The other way you could do this, of course, and this is not that bad, is go by file upload, choose the file, find your file, and cycle through them all. Okay, I got to my page. I'm going to click on horizontal, click open, click check. All right, I'm going to choose file, go to index, open, check. Choose file, nested, open, check. I'm just looking down here. I want to see green on all these pages. Template, we can do it. You might as well. It's a template, but it should be checked anyway if you're planning on using the template for something else. All right, I've just gone through and I verified that I have no errors on any of these pages. If I did, I would need to go in and fix them, and I would probably have to fix them on all of the pages. So keep that in mind. All right, now you can stay tuned for my next video later.